Today we're going to do a two-part video. The first part of this will be removing the intake manifold for an N20 BMW. Mine's a 2015 X1. And then part two will be actually replacing the oil filter housing gasket. So before we get started, I went ahead and disconnected the battery from the vehicle and I took off all the engine coverings. Now that we've got all the coverings off, the first thing that we're going to need to do is actually take off the DME. I've gone ahead and numbered the connection points just so I know what order they go into. And then you're going to need to actually take off the 4 mounting bolts right here. So there's 1 on each corner, 4 in total, and that's going to be a T30. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get that off. Okay, let's see. There we go, 4 bolts. Okay, so now that we're at the side of the engine, what we're going to do next is remove the tank ventilation line, which would be this one right here. You're supposed to just hold and release it up. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So that was a little harder than I thought it was going to be. You had to really squeeze this together to get it off of the line, but I got that off. And so now what we're going to do is, if you follow it, it's going to go to the tank vent valve, and there's 2 bolts right up there. You can see them right there. You're going to need to remove those, and then you can remove the tank vent valve from its mount right in there. It's really kind of tucked in there. I saw that maybe I may have to disconnect that wire right here because it's keeping me from really getting in there, but I don't know, I'll find out here in a second. So without further ado, go ahead and take that off, and it's going to be, I believe, a T25 Torx, so what would fit on there, so let's find out and we'll be right back. Okay, so one thing I just noticed, I didn't actually have to remove the mount right here. It literally just slides off, but we'll see. Okay, so now we're going to remove the throttle valve drive, which, if we look in here real quick, it's right there. That'll be next. It's just a connection we remove. Okay, update. I cannot get that stupid sensor off. That one right there. That one. Throttle valve drive, whatever. I can't get that thing off. I'm going to try to see if, once I get the valve cover starting to come off, if I can actually just carefully move it. I do know that it says also in the manual that it would like for you to take the whole air intake off as well. I'm thinking not, so let's just go ahead and move on to the next step, which would actually be removing this component right there, that sensor. So let's just see if we can take that off, and then after that I believe we can just go into removing the manifold. So let's see what happens. Why not? Kind of starting to go rogue here. I did disconnect this connection to the air duct tubing, and then as well as that connector I talked about. There's supposed to be some cable strapping or something attached to the intake, probably just holding some cable management. But the actual real next step would be to remove the 3 bolts that actually connect. See if I can focus here a little bit better. That can actually connect to the engine. So there's one right there. There's one tucked in there, if you can see it. And then there's one more, of course, in the back corner, lovely, covered in a bunch of wires. BMW's finest work. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the tripod, and then we'll take this off and see what happens. All right, for all the marbles. Okay, so we got all the 5 bolts out, And trust me, you're gonna need definitely a magnet or something to capture those bolts in the back. Like I use this one. I think I got it from like any regular harbor store, harbor goods, whatever you want to call it. Especially the ones back there, very difficult to try to get out with your hands. Definitely gonna probably lose the bolt. Other than that, I think what they mean by cable management in the book is just literally just the onslaught of cables that are all connected like this, that connects to the top part. So other than that stupid one down there that my camera can't even focus on, other than that one, we should be pretty good. It feels loose. It feels like it's ready to come out. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but let's find out. Okay, moment of truth.
A few moments later. More moments later.
Okay, well, that didn't go as planned. So, I mean, technically, we did get the intake manifold off. I mean, if you look, it's off. You could look and you could get to what you need to do. And for us, we just need to access a bolt that's right there that normally you can't reach, and right there, possibly, who knows. I'll read the book more on that. But there's just way too much cable and things that are connected underneath the intake manifold for me to find reason to take it all the way off. Like, just look under there. It's stupid. It's the reason why I think I'm going to get rid of this X1 and keep my 540i from 2001. It's just easier, and it honestly, in my personal opinion, is better. So, I mean, yes, you could take the intake manifold off to do the oil filter housing. I can see why people don't do it, but I think this is good enough. I think it's a good middle ground without actually fully taking it off. So in the next part, now we're going to actually do the oil filter housing, and with that out of the way, we should be good. Honestly, it didn't take me that long. It only took about an hour-ish to really get all of that taken off. Maybe 2 hours because I'm filming, but if I would have just done it myself, about an hour to get all those connections off and move the intake. I could still even check the gaskets on the intake if I wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and put the torque specs for the process, and maybe even the link that I had gotten the information for how to do this on. Hopefully it stays up. So stay tuned for the next episode for when we actually do the oil filter housing. Thank you guys.